If you're feeling a little bit stuck in your life, perfect. We are so happy that you're here and we're so happy that you landed on this podcast.
Welcome.
We are going to be talking all things reinventing yourself because your life is not going to change unless you do. Do you want me to kick off the first one?
Yes.
So when we think about reinventing your life, now this could look like anything for you. It could look like achieving a really big goal. It could look like changing jobs, moving overseas. Maybe you're just feeling a little bit stagnant. Maybe you don't have any real big goals that you want to achieve. The one thing that we want you guys to take away from this episode before we yap into your ears for the next however long is your life is really not going to change until you make the decision as the person to change your reality. And I know that sounds easier said than done, and it probably is easier said than done, but the thing or the rule that I always live by in my life, and any time that I've come to a sticking point in my life or I feel like I'm not on the right path, is that I always come down to, I always have the choice. Or the way that I like to look at it, a little bit of an analogy, is like I am the captain of the ship, always.
Yeah. I also think that sometimes when we make decisions in our life, like say we want to change something, we kind of can get stuck in thinking that the decisions are all final or are all forever, and that can prevent us from wanting to make a change. But things, you can evolve and change and keep changing your mind, and that's okay. And telling yourself not to because it might feel really serious, it's like you're then just leaving a situation you don't want to be in, whether it be a career or a relationship or moving, whatever it is. You can do that and then change your mind again. Like you would be far better taking the risk in that sense than not because you fear that it's a forever thing, because it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we always also need to think about as well, it's like people are changing careers, relationships, states, countries up into their 60s, 70s and 80s, right? We always think, and especially I'm going to speak for the girlies that are anywhere between, say, the age like 20 and 35. We think that we need to have it all figured out in this time frame. We think that whatever we decide today is going to be the same decision, the same beliefs, the same habits, the same patterns, all the things that we think in the next 10 years. And I can tell you now, the shit that I was doing at 20 versus the shit that I'm doing nearly at 30, not 30 yet, guys, nearly at 30, is completely different. I've changed my mind on so many things. I've changed, careers, I've changed decisions, I've made different decisions, and it really is not permanent. The second point that I kind of want to go into is please do not wait for motivation to hit to make any kind of change or decision, because motivation is going to be that thing that is fleeting. It's not something that you can rely on forever, right? If you're waiting for the moment to feel motivated to go to the gym, feel motivated to start a business, feel motivated to ask for a pay rise, feel motivated to start running, like whatever your thing is, you're always going to find it really hard to actually ever achieve that goal. Because as soon as that motivation starts to dip, what do we have? Nothing. We just go back to the same shit that may be keeping us stuck or making us feel unsatisfied even in the first place.
Yep. I think we can also, when we're so young, and this would be hilarious to anyone who's older looking at people saying this, and I'm sure we'll have this reflection when, say, we're 50, but there will be like people that are in their mid-20s telling themselves that it's too late to study something new. It's too late to do X, Y, Z, and it's not too late. Historically, I think it would be really good exercise to do, which would be to like look at super successful business owners who started in their 40s or their 50s.
Like Anna Wintour?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she did not create her first ever gown, dress, designer, whatever, until she was like 40 or 41.
There's so many examples like this. And I think that it might just be an element of you haven't had exposure to those types of role models. And I would say that that would be the best thing to do. Go on YouTube right now and look at like people who have had amazing careers later in life, because if you tell yourself it's too late for insert doing this, it's too late for insert doing this, you're going to be kicking yourself when you're older and you didn't change when you wanted to because you had this concept or mindset. And I think that I've seen so many people speak about this when they're older, but again, if you look at interviews from people that are in retirement homes or look at people, when they're older and they reflect on their life, so many of them will say, I wish I traveled more, or I wish I took the risk, I wish I did X, Y, Z. So learn from those people who are sharing those stories and make sure you're making those changes that you want to make now, because it's not too late.
Absolutely. And when I think about like reinventing myself or coming out of a place of, you know, feeling a little bit stuck, the first thing that I think of is saying yes to more opportunities, right? I think it's really easy. I mean, it is really easy to get stuck inside your comfort zone, the bubble that makes you feel safe, warm, and fuzzy, and feeling like you have to do anything that's outside of that, whether it's finding new friendships, whether it's traveling, like whatever the thing is for you, feels really scary. But the best thing for me, or the best bit of advice that I can give to you guys, is just say yes to more opportunities. Just be open to more things, because some of the best things that happened in my life that opened so many more doors to so many things was just me going, yeah, okay, I'll go to that. Or yeah, okay, I'll meet up with this person. Or yeah, okay, I'll reply to this email and see where this goes. Instead of going, oh, that feels wildly uncomfortable. That's really far outside my comfort zone. I'm just going to ignore it and not do it. So being open and, you know, looking at, I feel really stuck right now in my life. I feel really stagnant. What could I do where I could just say yes again? And I've been the person that said no all the time. I don't know about you, Jem, but I used to be so stuck in my bubble, so afraid of judgment, afraid of failing, afraid of, you know, walking into a room full of people and them thinking I'm a fucking loser or I'm weird, that I would just avoid doing things. And then when I decided, actually, you know what, I'm going to say yes to more opportunities that are thrown my way, that is when things just started to shift and change for me. And relating back to the first point that I made was, I then decided to choose the path that I wanted to move down, instead of just going, oh, I'm not going to do that, closing that door, closing that door, closing that door before it's even been really open for me.
Yeah, I would say I've had the same revelation, but I think this happened to me when I still worked in a marketing job, and I got invited in my marketing role to go to like the LinkedIn head office in the CBD. And I remember having a little lanyard on and sitting in the car, and I was like, I'm going to this office with people I don't know, and I don't know what the situation is going to be like. Maybe I'm going to get put on the spot. And I remember going to this and making a conscious decision to pretend that I was confident, because these people don't know any different. Like, I just did like an experiment, and I ended up being the person who was getting asked all of the questions. I got put in the front of the room. So many things were happening because that was how I presented, like open body language, asking people questions. And then that clicked something in my brain, because I was like, cool, if I open myself to these opportunities, like I can make the most out of this opportunity, versus if I go in and I think all of these things and I kind of make myself a mute in the room, that's going to impact what I could get out of this kind of thing. So that, I remember being a pivotal moment. I remember sitting in my car after and talking to someone, or maybe making a video or something on this exact point. And since then, soon after that, I worked in the fitness industry and changed my career. But since then, I made the conscious decision, even when I'm scared. So something that I used to be super afraid of was like going to a fitness seminar as a new coach. The fear is
same.
Oh my God, someone's going to ask me a question and I'm not going to know the answer to.
That was my biggest fear, is like sitting in a group and then them being like, Kate, and then I'd say a deadlift, and they'd be like, wrong, it's an RDL, and then I'd actually pass out and I'd be a goner. Yeah.
I remember going to a 3-day seminar with Eugene Tao and getting pulled into the middle to demo something or whatever, and I was just sitting there or standing there being like, please don't ask me a question about biomechanics. Like that, it's hilarious to look back on. But every single time, and this is that whole thing that we speak about of like collecting evidence, every single time I have felt that way, but then I've gone to the thing or I've said yes to the opportunity, it has always ended up opening another door. It could just be like going, like so many examples I can think of. I'll give you 2 examples. Like randomly someone asked me to go to a Pilates event for an activewear brand, and then the girl behind me, when I walked in, I smiled at her and asked her if she wanted something or whatever. And then 6 months later, she was like, oh, you were in front of me in Pilates. Can you coach me? Yeah. Like, it's just like so random, but so many things have a flow-on effect from that. So that's the first point I want to make. And then just from a bit of a backstory, because we speak a lot about this whole, like, you can reinvent yourself. And I think like for a backstory, when I'm now 32.
Oh my God.
When I was in my early 20s, I'm not going to do snippets on this on my Facebook or my Instagram, but I'll tell the YouTube girlies. When I was in my early 20s, I was in a long-term relationship. I was in a marketing job for an electricity company that that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
You don't love electricity. You're not passionate about electricity.
I'm not passionate about that.
Interesting.
But that was my life in that point in time. Early 20s, different relationship, different career, right? And that could have been the rest of my life if I wanted it to be. But I wanted more. I wanted to change. I wanted to say yes to things and to see what was possible. And that was uncomfortable. Doing those things, changing, moving, all of the things that have happened since then, it's not like that was just like an easy, free-flowing process, but it's worth it because I wanted something different for myself, right? So when you are potentially in a similar position where you know you want to change something, but it's scary, like that scariness doesn't mean not to do it. It's just part of growing. It's either you stay scared and you stay stuck and you spend the next 5 to 10 years complaining because of your circumstances, or you do something about it, because that's the reality. Like no one's coming to save you. No one's going to come do it for you. And that's not meant to be like a disempowering sentence. That's supposed to be empowering, as in like you're capable of changing your circumstances and you are capable of far more than you give yourself credit for. So if you want to change something, it starts from a decision to do that and then to back yourself.
I truly think that is the most empowering thing though, right? Like when you finally understand the concept that nobody else is doing whatever's happening to me in my life to me other than me allowing it to happen. And I know that sounds mean. I know that sounds harsh. Once you can fully understand that concept, it's like it opens up so many doors and so many avenues and chapters that you probably never thought was once possible for you. I mean, example for me of me feeling like I was really stuck. I went from school into uni, right? I did my degree. I cried nearly every single day through it. Nutrition, science degree. From a girl who didn't do science or maths in high school, don't know why I thought that was going to be my career path for life. It was incredibly hard for me. I hated it. In that time frame, I worked at Woolies, I worked in retail, I did all of that. I actually really loved those jobs, to be honest. They were actually such a slave, but I was working like paycheck to paycheck, right? I then went into my nutrition job. I realized that was not for me. Clinical nutrition was not going to be my thing, and I just absolutely hated it. And I remember going, I have just wasted 3 years of my life, $30,000, however much a degree is here in Australia, and I'm about to disappoint the fuck out of my whole family. I was the first person that went to uni in my immediate bloodline. And I just thought my parents are going to be so disappointed in me. Not that my parents ever put pressure on me to be able to, go to uni or do anything. And I didn't have to do any of that. They just encouraged it as I was going to high school. And I just remember sitting at my desk in my frosted office window. I couldn't even see outside. And I remember going, my parents are going to be so disappointed in me. I'm about to change career paths to become a fucking personal trainer. And having that moment of like, and I remember thinking, I either sit in this office for the next 30 years or I decide to make a change and do something that I know I'm going to be really happy about. I was working paycheck to paycheck, and now I've created a business where on a random Thursday, I can sit in a podcast studio with my best friend talking to you guys. Of course, there is so many lessons that I've learned along the way. Of course, I've had moments of doubt. Of course, I've gone, why the hell did I decide to do this? But every single time I've had that thought, another opportunity even better has come along. Every single time I thought, I can't do this. I can't run my own business. I cannot employ people. This is too much pressure. I can't handle it. Something amazing comes along my way. So if you're feeling like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, I feel really stagnant, I feel really stuck, I want to reinvent myself, all you need to know and take away from this podcast is you always have the choice. The choice is 100% yours. I know right now you might go, but I've got a mortgage and I got kids and I got this and I got that. And like, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you always have a choice, right? You can decide tomorrow to start putting a plan in place to open your own business. You can start tomorrow start putting a plan in place to finally go to the gym. You can start tomorrow by putting a plan in place to finally start running the marathon that you've spoken about for the last 10 years or leaving your job. But it always starts with a decision that might feel uncomfortable, but we know is going to lead to something bigger and better.
And on that note, thank you guys so much for listening.
We love you.
That was, I think we really touched on some good points, and I know that some girlies are going to have some light bulb moments and think that's exactly what I needed to hear. So if that was you, let us know in the comments, share it to your story, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and we will see you soon.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.